Welcome back. Still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidiri. The time is 8:33 Central African time, and it's time for our hashtag Africa Focus feature. This is a part of a show where we look at some of the biggest, most pressing issues on the African continent. And this time around, we're not going too far. Actually, next door by the border, our neighbors, Botswana, who for quite some time have been a diamond powerhouse on the African continent, and they're currently facing an unprecedented market shock as stockpiles balloon and global demand softens. Botswana's government reports diamond inventories have reached roughly 12 million carats, almost double the acceptable ceiling, reflecting a deep and steep, almost 85% oversupply. And that's a very, very concerning state of affairs, considering the fact that Botswana's economy is essentially held by diamonds. They are the backbone of that part of the continent. And we'll be speaking to Kabo Ramasia, who's a media personality in Botswana, as a journalist, and he'll be giving us insight on what this means for Southern Africa's largest gem producer and its future. Kabo, thank you so much for joining us live from Gaborone. Really appreciate you giving us your time and giving us insight on the state of events in Botswana.
Yeah, good morning. Let me take this time to greet, your viewers, and let me just jump straight into it. I think, as you would have seen, the recently released budget strategy paper for the year 2026, 2027 really spells, doom for the country, because it really stipulates that, regarding the diamond, which has been the mainstay of the economy for the past decades. I think, as we already know right now that, global diamonds markets have really collapsed and we are not doing well. I think it's been quite some time now. And also, I think what contributed to this low global demand for diamonds, as we see and read about it right now, over and above, the diamond, dynamics, I think should have been the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as you might have seen how it really affected, global economies. Also, I think what is really making the situation even much worse right now is this, phenomenon of the lab-grown diamonds or synthetic diamonds, which I think available data is out there to show that they are really giving these natural diamonds a run for their money. And countries like Botswana, which ethically source their diamonds from the ground, have really stood up to really sort of voice their concern over this growing demand of lab-grown diamonds, which are currently sort of dominating the markets, which used to be dominated by these natural diamonds. Because with your Gen Zs and your millennials, it's really you can't really strike a difference between a lab grown diamond or synthetic diamond and a natural diamond, and this really affects the sale of these natural diamonds. Because if you can reverse or go back in history, you know that diamonds used to contribute more than 80% of the country's total earnings, gross earnings. And you'd see that is one commodity in which the economy of Botswana was built upon. That is one commodity that which contributed to the building of hospitals, which contributed to the building of schools and provision of socio-economic amenities, as we might have seen.
And I want to touch on that specifically, the impact that the sale of diamonds has had on Botswana's economy. And at this current moment, the stockpiles and the inability to sell the diamonds, has it resulted in a true and felt kind of economic change in the lives of Botswana at this current moment? Can people feel it on the ground that, hey, we might have a problem here, and it's directly linked to the diamond sales and them not being what they used to be?
I mean, despite maybe the current government's efforts in terms of trying to diversify the economy and look for other avenues which could try to grow the GDP of the country. I think it goes without saying that the impact of diamond sales are felt by everyone in Botswana, because you can't really hide away from the fact that for the longest time our economy was reliant on these diamonds, and we call them diamonds for development because perhaps most of the development that you see in Botswana was a result of these diamonds. But over the years, the country has been running on budget deficits. And then as we head towards February, where the Minister of Finance will be giving the budget speech, you anticipate that the budget deficit is going to kind of widen, because there's no how a country can be able to provide services, continue paying civil servant salaries, rolling out medication and free public education and so forth and so on, when there's no stream of income. That is what makes it even more difficult, because a country cannot spend more than it is making. And for the longest time, diamonds were our mainstay, where we knew that we're making in billions and billions of dollars from the diamonds. That is why we could finance a lot of socio-economic development, and that is why government could get on with its business of the day. But now, since the onset of this global crisis, which has not only affected Botswana but other diamond producing countries, I think it has been kind of the impact has been sort of felt, because the economy has been sort of stalling. And also, I think what makes it even more worse has to be the issue of the tariffs, the tariffs as imposed by the US president. I think initially the tariffs were over 30%, if I'm not mistaken, but they were reduced to 15, and it really makes trade even more difficult for countries in the global south like ours, where we have to really grapple with all these tariffs, and it affects diamond markets in a way. But chief, above all these factors that could have contributed to the to the market's downturn, I think the issue of synthetic diamonds is one issue that Botswana really has been crying about, that Botswana really at an international level has been trying to speak against, to say that look, we have an ethically sourced diamond here, a diamond that when we sell, we're able to improve the lives of Botswana, but it has to compete against something that has been grown in the lab. How ethical is that? That now we want the markets to be able to support something that is grown, within the lab, something that can be produced within months, if not weeks, vis-a-vis something that people's livelihoods depend on, and something that is really ethically sourced. I think going forward, these are the debates that we should be having, because with the advent of this the synthetic diamonds, I think going forward, perhaps you could hear maybe the Western world saying that diamonds, natural diamonds should not be sold because they affect the environment, because they are sourced from where you mine, and you have to dig the environment and all that. I think these are the kind of the debates that we must anticipate and all that. But in the time being, I think Botswana's government and all the stakeholders that are involved are trying to really look at various ways in an attempt to really try to market the diamonds in a different way. You know that the Okavango Diamond Company, the ODC, is now one of the instrumental entities in the sale of diamonds in Botswana. I think they are trying to sort of revamp how they've been doing things, and also Botswana is trying to come up with an aggressive marketing strategy. I think as well the government has announced under the new government, and under the current president, Advocate Duma Boko, that they're attempting to buy De Beers so that they can have a controlling stake. As you might have known that Anglo American, which is the parent company to De Beers, and De Beers has 85%, while the government of Botswana has got 15% shareholding on that agreement. So the government is trying to push for the buying of of De Beers so that it could own it wholly and have a say in terms of how the diamond trajectory goes. But that is something that is dividing opinion, with others saying maybe it could be a good thing, others saying that maybe perhaps the timing is not correct given the industry, the diamond industry, where it is, and the markets, how they are performing.
You touched a bit on diversifying the economy from Botswana's point of view. What plans are there, from government? Are there, other initiatives where they're looking to, look for other opportunities to grow the economy, diversify maybe to, agriculture or the tech industry, or, anything else that could be an alternative to a dwindling diamond industry, which again has been a cornerstone for the economy of Botswana for so many years?
I mean, look, the world is in a phase whereby we are currently at the fourth industrial revolution, and with some countries probably moving towards the fifth industrial revolution. And with what is happening right now, I think government perhaps should be thinking around maybe how they can harness technology or leverage technology to try and create, jobs for the young people who most of them remain unemployed. Because if you look at it, white collar jobs nowadays, like maybe your teaching, your nursing, and so forth and so on, there are no opportunities in that space. And Botswana is one of the many countries in Africa and throughout the world with the highest, youth unemployment rate. There are other sectors, like you mentioned, your agriculture, which the government, can look into to try to resuscitate, to inject a bit of capital into it. And also, I think the arts and entertainment is one sector that could also, try to, reignite the economy, because there's so much potential within the arts and entertainment sector, and perhaps also sports. If you look at, Botswana's sports in the past few years, I think we have really done well. Look at what we have achieved in the past 2 years. We have won the Olympic medal. Tebogo Letsile is an Olympic medalist, and he's from Botswana. Look at what we achieved last year. The world champions. Even as CP won gold, our relay team won gold, and this May will be hosting the world relays in May. I think this is some of the things that we could look into to try to see how do we grow sport from grassroots level all the way to a professional level. How do we inject capital or resources into sports, because it's one sector that could save us in the long run, particularly looking at athletics and maybe also the potential that we still have in sports, and even though we might have to really nurture it.
No, most definitely. When it comes to Tebogo Letsile, you can even squeeze us South Africans there. We really love him this side. But anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Kabo. Really, really appreciate your time and for your wonderful insights. Hope we chat again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go, Kabo Ramasia coming to us live from Gaborone out in Botswana. And yeah, painting a rather concerning picture when it comes to what has been for the longest of times the cornerstone of Botswana's economy, and something that has essentially positioned them to be one of the prosperous countries in the SADC region. The diamond industry, the diamond sales, and seeing it dwindle and seeing it not being what it used to be. I think it's a rather concerning picture, and it pose the question of African countries and trying to diversify their economies. You can look in Nigeria also. I think they're facing a kind of similar situation where the oil prices have been going down for some time now, and it's been hitting them really, really hard. And there are other alternatives that markets are sourcing their oil from, considering the quality and the logistics around sourcing their oil, and they're also grappling with trying to diversify their economy. And you can take lessons from maybe the Saudis and how their Vision 2030, which essentially was, we are going to try and move away from a one commodity based economy. We're going to try and diversify, and they're doing that. They are now a big tourist destination, whether you like it or not. I think it's a conversation for another day. They're heavily involved when it comes to gold, even reports of them exploiting some parts of the African continent, entertainment industry, fintech. It's a perfect example of how countries like Botswana, countries like Nigeria on the African continent, yes, we've been blessed with these minerals, but the world is changing, as Kabo alluded to. The world is shifting. We're in the fourth industrial revolution, and countries like Botswana, like South Africa, like Nigeria, who are traditional powerhouses on the African continent, almost kind of need to reimagine themselves and the offerings that they have for the international community. So yeah, I think wonderful insights. All the best to the people of Botswana, man. A very, very good friend of South Africa, and you don't want Botswana to fail. That's one thing that is of concern. That's been our hashtag Africa Focus feature. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, News and Views continues.
Well, it's very difficult. I don't want to demean Afia's humanity in any way, but this is a woman who's suffered more than any other woman I've ever come across, any other person. And she is deeply traumatized, suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder of the most extreme type. And obviously can't get any meaningful treatment from the very people who tortured her and who continue to abuse her. And FMC Carswell, possibly the worst prison I've ever been to in 41 years, where she's been raped and sexually assaulted. It's just disgusting. And I think every day that she spends in that awful place is another crime against her, which just adds impetus to what we're trying to do here to get her liberty.